Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Vinland Saga, Season 1, Episode 19. Last episode was one of my favorite episodes of the series. I feel like going forward, we are going to have a pretty new character in our story.
I think that's safe to say.
It's like Canute, like, digivolved, you know?
2.0.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what that elicits in terms of reaction when it comes to Thorkel or Askeladd, or hell, even Thorfinn, who knows?
I think it's, what is Thorfinn even doing right now? That's a good question.
Splinters?
Splinters.
Broken back?
No, I'm just gonna go with splinters. He just
Okay.
has like one little splinter in his pinky.
Okay, that's
and
it.
That really hurts. I mean,
Yeah.
that could kill someone.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Walking towards Thorfinn.
Yeah. I'd assume.
Are we gonna keep going?
Oh.
Is he gonna wrap it up?
Use your head. Oh.
When he said bring a chair, I did not think he meant for himself for some reason.
Yes. This reminds me of the first episode. God, look at how young Thorkel is.
Sigvaldi is... Does that mean he's...
What?
What?
Interesting. Oh, did he want one more fight? Does he even realize who it is yet? No.
The difference even between them in size.
Uncle Thorkel.
You can leave tomorrow.
Oh, God.
That's why he asks.
Look at his resolve.
It's like a death sentence either way, is it?
Holy shit!
He kept it a secret, didn't he?
Oh my god. Somewhere, but not here.
What a family relationship happening in front of our eyes. Is the minute up and so we're about to get started?
Don't let anger take it over. Think about it. Oh, I love shogi references in anime.
I mean, Ascalon has a point there.
Just this
Got
once.
Coach on the sidelines.
God, what a shot of them together. Oh my god. You have no idea.
What timing? What's the timing overlap going to be with Canute here? Woo! Does that mean if you surrender, he'll still let Thorfinn go?
Oh, the same as the spears when they were coming up. Oh!
His eyes? His head?
His chin.
Oh! Did you not listen to what Thorkel said?
Thorkel's gonna stop it. He has to. Oh, look at him. Oh.
His brother. He's gonna go see his brother. Oh no. He didn't even want to go along with this.
The earth is shaking.
Idiots. I don't know why they thought they could just go against what Thorkel said.
Poor Thorkel.
He's having the worst day of his life. Huh. What an approach. Now it's your turn to just watch, Askeladd.
Didn't even flinch.
Oh. Like Thor's! What? So I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna end up fighting him. Oh, what? And who you'll become. Your major bargain, did it pay off?
Holy shit. The two 50-year-olds bickering. Let's be friends. Yeah, just like their bodies.
Just like killing Ragnar. Water under the bridge.
Jesus Christ. I feel like my entire, mentality is being torn apart and, rebuilt.
I feel like when you say Jesus Christ, it now takes on new meaning.
You're right. Okay, that was Vinland Saga, Season 1, Episode 19. Are all the episodes my favorite episode?
I think that you're starting to say that probably more often, and I think that you have even more reason to be saying it.
It was so good, man.
I like whatever is happening right now. I like the last couple episodes. Once Thorkel got here, I don't know, something about the last couple episodes, I'm liking this more and more now.
It feels like they just, did a great job at build up in terms of the narrative and the character arcs that now that we're here, the payoff is so deep.
You know what it almost feels like? Like everything prior to this was the prologue of how Thorfinn came to feel how he does and be mourning his father's death. and we get this prologue of the events of what happens to Canute that then brings him to this moment. And this is chapter 1 of like the next step for them.
In its own way, it feels like the stories had several prologues. And I think that they're each for different characters, right? And I think that that's why it's so powerful. Like, it has a way about it that makes you feel like there are several different, like, main protagonists, and each person is their own protagonist in this story. And, like the first, 3 episodes, that felt like a prologue in its own right, because it was Thor's story right there. And
the prologue to his death.
Yeah, and what he left off for Thorfinn to take up. And it's been Thorfinn for quite a while, but then we got something of a turn with Askeladd and his memories and what his true feelings are and what he wants to do with them and what he's looking for.
And that episode is like, what, episode like 15? No, Ragnarok was
14
like
14 or 15?
Somewhere in there, yeah. And that was kind of his episode of
maybe
taking
a
path.
Yeah.
Like choosing a path and going for it and kind of starting this storyline that we're currently on.
It's
well, now that I think the storyline kind of ended here. I think that whatever Thorfinn picked up, we then kind of ended once he not ended, but you get what I'm saying. There was like stepping stones.
Yeah.
Like, and then Askeladd Ragnarok, we pick up with his storyline, and he's the one affecting the narrative and the line that we're traveling. And now Canute is the one that has taken over the mantle and is just dictating the line that we're on.
It's just the way that they've done it feels so organic and so well paced. I'm kind of astounded that when we first met Canute and the idea of him and what idea I had of him and like, oh, he could be the secret, like, we don't even know how strong he is physically and capable. He could just be like a sleeper fighter,
do we only have that idea because we have an introduction to how Thorfinn fights at the beginning of Vinland
I think
Saga?
I have that idea because with stories that are not like, there's nothing that I can think of that's like identical to this in comparison, but when I think of just similar animes or manga that I've read or even books, it's like when we meet a character who a bit into the story, right? Anywhere past 5 episodes, when we're introduced to a character, they tend to already have traits written about them that are revealed to us as the audience going forward. It's very rarely that we're introduced to a character and we get to watch them grow in front of us as well. Like, it's usually a reveal.
Your protagonist or main character.
Yeah,
like you meet them and they are already a set person and personality, and their role in the story is already what it is when you first meet them.
And it could defy expectation. Like, oh, he's a very quiet person. He doesn't like fighting. So what we don't know is that he could actually be a crazy good fighter. That's how it would typically play out. So that's what my expectation was. But the fact that it was like, no, this is who this character is, and we're going to take you on a fucking journey. Like, we're going to show you what will make him into the person that leads forth with his mission.
This was the only way, I think, narratively, that you could have Thorfinn's path go in terms of his revenge plan, but keep Askeladd alive for the story.
And Thorkel.
Yes, but I was specifically talking about his revenge plan against Askeladd. This was the only way that you could convince someone who had decided their whole meaning and purpose in life was to avenge their father to possibly, we don't know yet if he's going to drop that idea, but the only way other than a duel and either being beaten by Askeladd or beating Askeladd that could fulfill Thorfinn and make him drop that idea. I think I said a while ago, there would have to be something that would show him more of a satisfying and fulfilling purpose that he would rather do in making his father's memory.
Oh, Thorfinn you're talking about? Gotcha.
There's only one, there has to be something big for him to drop
the
avenge his father plot. And what is the best way? have a character suddenly represent the values that he's trying to understand.
Well, we don't know that that's going to happen yet, right? Like,
I know, but that's what's being possibly set up.
And I definitely want to talk about that potential and like what that will look like in terms of, you know, Thorfinn addressing Canute or trying to thrive in this new environment that's going to be. But I wanted to talk about a point that you just brought up that I think that needs like a little further talking about, and that is like Askeladd's survival here. I think that in what I'd expect from a show like this or from an anime is that, okay, these are the stakes here. The only way Askeladd gets out alive here would be due to plot armor or just some like convenience to keep him in the story. And in this iteration, it wasn't plot armor. It was plot. It was just written so well that he needs to survive here. This is he needs to get on his knees, tell Canute that he was the one to kill Ragnar, and pledge his life to go to be on the line for Canute. It's brilliant. It's amazing.
If you think of every character being due the same importance in a story in terms of how their story ends. If you think, well, I want my main character, if they are going to go through trials and tribulation, if they are going to die, I want it to make sense or be fulfilling for their narrative. The most fulfilling and satisfying death for Askeladd, at first, maybe we thought it would be at the hands of Thorfinn if that was going to be how things played out, because no other situation at the time fit the bill.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about what he just pledged here to this character, Canute, and those flashbacks that we got of him, I think it was two episodes ago, Servant, that we get his mother's wishes for him.
Yeah.
That him pledging that he will die in battle for Canute, that the only death that is satisfying for him is either to die of old age or to die for Canute in battle against King Sven.
You know what I think a lot of people could potentially lack in this world that we're seeing? You know, the idea of like going to Valhalla, of dying in a fight, I think that it's so, like, based off of some of the side characters we've gotten, so like easy to look at. Like, okay, if I'm in a fight, if I'm doing this and die, Valhalla, there you go. But there's so much more depth, and I think therefore reward out of genuine passion in following somebody, right? Like, not fighting just to fight, but you believe in every step that you're taking while you're following these people. I think that would be probably more akin to what is the belief of dying on the battlefield and being rewarded with Valhalla in heaven, like fighting for a cause more like that, you know?
I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. That's what the characters are trying to figure out here. There is a secret to what a real warrior is. And a lot of the men that we've previously been introduced to didn't think there was a secret. They thought they knew exactly what a warrior was from whatever was told by their society, that was what a warrior was, and that is how you should fight and die as a warrior, and you will, be able to go to Valhalla. And now, and the introduction of Thor's at the very beginning of the story, we immediately get told that not everyone feels that way about that being how to be a warrior, or be a true warrior. And then with Canute, we get that even so reinforced with him trying to figure out, why do we need to be fighting? And then in the last episode, realizing a similar sentiment and idea to what we can attach closer parallel to Thor's. And we get, obviously, Thorkel, who has wanted to know for 15 years what the secret was.
It's so interesting that, like, Thorkel is following Canute for, like, with the same intention, with the same, like, veracity as Askeladd is, but for much different reasons. Like, at
his
first...
one regret in life.
Yeah. At first I was like, Has Askeladd previously followed or regretted not following somebody with this look in his look in his eyes? But it's a different character. It's a different story. It's a different reason, and it's
for Askeladd. He felt like he had to create the person to follow.
Yeah.
There was no one presenting themselves. I don't think he would have, definitely not the same regret as Thorkel, because as you said, separate characters. For him, he felt like, no one is coming, that I can't just sit here and wait. I'm like 50 years old. I can't just sit and wait for someone to present themselves that is worthy of me following them. That is exactly what my mom wished of me. I am going to create that.
Doesn't it make you like think back to Thor's death and when Askeladd asked Thors to join them? Like it's like
he thought that Thors could be a possibility.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, they have something similar in their eyes, him and Canute from this episode. I mean, it's what Thorkel sees. It makes you want to go back to that episode and see if Askeladd... we know that Askeladd thinks back to Thors.
Yeah.
We've seen it before. And it's really, really cool to have these two characters that are now best friends as of the end of the episode. That they're both envisioning, when they envision something deep down in their desires that is just popping into their head, like intrusive thought style, it is the same sentiment and the same idea, basically, that they are chasing. They are chasing parallel people, if not the same people. They're looking for someone to follow that is worthy of following, that is worthy of dying for.
This really felt like a 45-minute episode, and it was 20 minutes. That's crazy. I cannot believe we got so much of Thorkel, too. Like, not only did we get flashbacks of him via Askeladd and the first time, or the time he fell in battle, we were given history about...
That had to happen.
Yeah.
There's no way we could have defeated Thorkel except for the chance that Askeladd happened to see him in the one moment that man ever fell.
Yeah, we learned...
What's the luck of that? I mean, Askeladd's known as to be the character representing luck.
I imagine that was him in his prime there, Askeladd, and it was great to see. I wish I could see a whole nother, like I don't know, prequel or something, just following Askeladd's life, or any of the characters.
Well,
I can do that for literally any character.
For you with the story is, I mean, honestly, it'd be interesting to see what Canute's life was like, but I think I already have seen enough of what Canute's life was like prior, so I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I loved, we learned about Thorkel's relation to the leader of the Jomsviking. He's like the great uncle to Thorfinn.
He's literally the grunkle.
It's amazing.
I was trying to figure out, I mean, it's probably because anime age can be funky sometimes, and I don't look at Thorkel and think that's a 50-year-old who's fighting like that for some reason. So when I was like, oh, so he's Helga's brother, is where my mind was going, because he was fighting alongside Thor's.
Yeah.
And he looked rather young in those, he is a younger brother to Sigvaldi, but... For some reason, my mind was going like he is an uncle, not a great uncle. But, these 50-year-old men in this show, they're still going at it.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like Thorkel.
That you pick them in terms of writing. The characters that they're choosing to be not only the leaders, because age-wise it would make sense that they would probably be the ones that would be leading groups of people because of experience, but they are also the ones that have seen the most wars and battle. Similar to Thor's, are the ones that are maybe wiser, maybe a little more self-preservation there, like don't just easily go get yourself killed, like fight battles smartly or strategically.
Or it's the opposite end of the spectrum, right? It's like the king. Like, it's somebody who is doing the opposite of that, but laying, wealth and other bodies in front of you for protection. One of my favorite lines in this episode was from Thorkel, and I'd love to read it real quick. Right when
as soon as you want something from Crunchyroll, it says no.
Crunchyroll and I have beef, for real.
Now you have to find what it was.
Yeah. But okay, while I'm trying to find it, let me talk about something else. If I was just graduating high school and wanting my first tattoo, and I wanted it to be something like really vaguely deep, I would get the tattoo somewhere but not here. We've gotten that line so much throughout the entire series, and it means like the world to me right now, and out of impulse I would get something like that tattooed. I would never get any like writing like that actually tattooed, but I would probably print it out and hang it on my wall if I was in high school, because it's my favorite thing. I love it. Okay, I thought about him for 15 years. I've realized that whether the body is still alive or not doesn't matter. What's important for a warrior is where their soul is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, his soul had gone somewhere far away. I don't understand it yet. Somewhere I can't reach yet. Somewhere, but not here. I love it. This is one of my favorite lines from Thorkel this entire series. Or favorite lines of dialogue or trains of thought.
I think what we get with Thorkel and Askeladd, which is a really nice compare contrast for these two characters, is that with Askeladd we're given a character who's very thinks a lot, but is also strong. And for Thorkel, at first I was just like strong.
Yeah.
But he also thinks. You know?
Yeah.
Thinks, but is strong. Strong, but also thinks.
Do you think that there was intention in the fact that Thorfinn beat Thorkel without a weapon, just like Thor's did in the flashback to Thorkel?
Oh, well, it's great, but the only hindrance to it, and maybe why we don't get literally any feeling or idea of a parallel there, is possibly because Askeladd helped.
Yeah.
I wonder if Thorfinn had done this on his own without Askeladd using the sword to create the glare, then I think that narratively there might have been some type of flash to imagining Thor's, thinking of Thor's, but why they couldn't do that is because they needed to save it for Canute.
Yeah.
They needed to save that moment with Thorkel for the look in Canute's eyes.
But it's also like not his character right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was a choice not only so that you could highlight Canute. Without Canute in the situation, I think that same decision would have been made, and I'm so curious as to like where it's going. Like,
I think it's possible that it's because what we're getting with Thorfinn, Canute's at a point of being ready.
Yeah.
I don't think Thorfinn's at a point
Definitely
narratively of being ready. He is still having to deal with how to fight and how to not let his emotions take over in a fight and cloud his judgment and his thinking. He's still learning from Askeladd some not very fair fight skills. But he still has a lot to work on in terms of becoming a very strong fighter, the strongest fighter. Like, he's strong. I mean, he's obviously gotten fingers off of Thorkel, and we've seen him decimate a lot of people who appear bigger and stronger than him. It's nothing to do with that. It's the leveling. It's the, like, there's this character up here of Thor's, and we need to get Thorfinn closer.
But in what way? Right? Like, in terms of strength or in terms of mentality and belief?
So I think it might be most fulfilling to get Thorfinn there in strength and then have him feel or think about similar things, or his father's words. Once he gets to the point of strength that his father was once at, then the thoughts and feelings of his father might resonate a little more with him.
I think that Thorfinn has to be one of the most interesting main characters in an anime I've ever seen in my life. It's almost like he's in an oven and they're like, let him cook a bit. We're gonna show you guys something different in terms of like Thorkel, Canute, Askeladd. And then in terms of what they'll do though, and where they go with that, I can't even feel I can happily say I don't feel confident in saying that the goal here is to get Thorfinn to a certain level of physical strength or mental strength even. Like I don't know if the story they're trying to tell is Thorfinn not reaching the point that his father did until he has experienced life for himself and gets there naturally. I don't know if and I'm happy. Like I'm so excited to see where they take his character because there's so many different directions they could go.
Yeah.
It seems like there's Canute has found a sense of resolve, and he's in a position that he can choose to attempt to lead, right? And Thorkel and Askeladd are in positions that it seems like it almost comes with age, that at a certain point you realize that there needs to be there's something further. There's another purpose. There's another mystery to what a true warrior really is. And it doesn't seem like it's realistic to expect Thorfinn to like get to that type of belief overnight at the age that he's at.
Think about the ending and how we get, Thorkel and Askeladd both choosing to follow Canute.
Yeah.
We don't get Thorfinn choosing to follow Canute, but we also don't get Thorfinn being like, hey, Baldy, where are you going? Like, I have to follow you because, revenge. But what we just get, we don't even get a pan to Thorfinn's face as we're following Canute. We just, when we pan out and see everyone following him, we also see Thorfinn kind of hobbling along.
Yeah.
Which I think is to show us even more so that this character has not made a choice to follow Canute. It does show us, like, I think we can understand that any of the other warriors that are following behind have made a choice to either continue to follow Thorkel and whatever Thorkel is deciding to do in the moment, or Canute. But Thorfinn, we've known for a long time that he is an outlier in that. We get dialogue last episode when he meets up with Thorkel, where Thorkel's like, is this your boss? And he's like, no. So Thorfinn's this outlier, like he's following along, but his reasonings for following along still do not align with everyone else's.
Yeah.
And I definitely, at the moment, I know I don't want to lock in to any belief or theory because that would lead down a bad road. Because
I'd be curious to know what it is.
Well, at the moment, I still strongly believe, I don't know if I made a lot of sense before, but at the moment, I feel like because we've had Canute and we've seen how Canute got to where he got, I feel like Thorfinn's path here narratively to create enough difference, but also enough focus on the actual character themselves when the narrative is written, that with keeping Askeladd alive, the path I see for Thorfinn is since he's not ready, what needs to happen is that more and more, especially through Canute, maybe even, he is getting stronger for this person and becoming an even more incredible fighter. And more, as Thorkel is trying to find the secret behind his father's words, trying to continuously try to understand his father. And I think the possible best way at the moment, and for what I can imagine, is for him to truly feel like he's stepping into his father's shoes so that he can see the world through his father's eyes, because he has failed to really truly see it from when he was a child. We get that at the very beginning, is that he cannot see eye to eye with his father. He cannot make heads or tails of what his father is saying. But also here in this episode, we get this idea and reminder that he was such a young child. He knows so little about, he learns here who his father really was.
Yep.
And how strong his father, he knew his father was strong. But it's different when you're hearing like the actual alignment he was given, Sigvaldi's daughter,
why
as a
he
bride.
was, how much respect.
He could have been the successor of the
that
young
was
Vikings.
A massive reveal.
These are giant reveals of pressure and status and something to live up to that has made it go from, I want to live up to my father because he's my role model, to my father is a giant name in this culture, in this group of people, that there might be more that might show narratively that in this here also, but then over in this group of people, there's this possible pressure here to become more like your father.
I wonder if with age, Canute and Thorfinn will have a relationship with each other, whether it's something similar to the one Thor's had.
I wonder if there's any parallels that we could guess of like types of relationships we've seen that we could be like, oh, maybe they'll have a dynamic like this. And honestly, at the moment, I'm like, Bjorn Askeladd. I don't necessarily like that he just follows him no matter what. I don't know. It could be like that. There's something endearing, I guess, about Bjorn and Askeladd. But I don't know if I want Thorfinn to necessarily be the brawn at the right side of the brains, you know?
Well, I want to know what the second Askeladd is. Okay, if a duel happens, if Askeladd's defeated, does Thorfinn go home? Does Thorfinn like what is Thorfinn's character after this is done?
I mean, that brings up the idea of would he actually kill Askeladd in a duel? Especially after the duel he experiences here, which is, if you beat me in some way, it doesn't necessarily have to be death.
What if
I still feel like I won or you won, you know?
What if Leaf shows up tomorrow?
I mean, honestly,
what happens?
Why do we see him for a split second? It really puts that in the back of your mind that he could quite possibly come back in at an unexpected moment.
If he comes and then takes Thorfinn away before Askeladd's dead, like just in like crazy theory, then Thorfinn returns home, time passes, he hears or sees or is told about Askeladd's death, and then it goes down a route where it's like Thorfinn is finding these things for himself as we're watching Askeladd do, or other characters like them. I don't know. I've this is taking me for such a ride narratively.
I couldn't see Thorfinn stepping away from what's currently happening. I feel like what we've been given here with this trajectory choice of creating a leader for all of them to follow and a fight to come that is immense, like going against the king for the throne.
I know.
I'm like, you can't get much bigger than that.
Well, typically, like, that's what I'd say, right? Like, I'd assume that, okay, we're going to go forward. We're going to, because of our situation with Askeladd, be with them and fight with them up until that point, and then afterwards it takes a different direction. But just the nature of the show is so puzzling to me. I can't.
And we still have, like, as you had said, we still have such question of what relationship Thorfinn and Canute are gonna have.
Yeah.
Yes, we could agree that if Askeladd is following Canute and so is Thorkel, then Thorfinn is going to follow for his own reasons of, revenge, also maybe wanting to be around a family member but maybe won't admit it because he wants to hear more stories about his mom and dad, or understand his father better even. Especially when we get that little moment of being like, I'm not gonna tell you anything about, like such like a family dynamic.
When Thorkel asked for a chair,
I thought it was gonna be for Thorfinn. I don't know why. I'm such an idiot for thinking it was gonna be for Thorfinn. But what I was gonna say is that I think because we have just such a question in terms of what Thorfinn's relationship to Canute's gonna be, I think that is a major question, because I think that it would really change his actions going forward, because he's no longer following Askeladd and Askeladd's men. He's following someone else that Askeladd and now Thorkel are following that is around basically his age.
Yeah.
And that he might have common ground with to understand, and might see glimpses of his father as Thorkel is seeing and as Askeladd is seeing. That it makes me wonder, are we going to see a Thorfinn who chooses to fight for Canute because he wants to fight for Canute? Or is it just going to be a Thorfinn's fighting here because he still wants to have a chance at Askeladd?
This is my favorite, still of the entire series so far. Editor, if you're seeing this please still include this, because it is amazing. Good.
It gives that whole energy of that could actually be just an edit and some type of, that's like a dead person, and that's that person is behind him in support as an ancestor.
Yeah, just make highlight Askeladd and turn opacity down to 50%. Yeah.
That's his Ragnar.
But genuinely, I imagine this is a manga panel, and if it is, I want to frame it. Like
It's good. I like it.
It's gorgeous.
I think the last thing of any type of importance from this episode that is immediately in my recall as we talk as soon as we finish watching. So it's whatever's immediately in the front of the brain that is called upon. Is the fact that I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name because I'm not gonna be able to do it. Thorkel's right-hand man. The fact that once they saw Thorkel was knocked down, they immediately disrespected Thorkel's wishes and were about to kill Thorfinn pissed me off.
Yep.
Like, I get it. They were like, well, we never agreed to the terms of the duel. But, like, come on. Your society and culture based on the dignity of a warrior and keeping the promise and sanctity of duels. And you're just gonna go against that person's... If he had died there, if Thorkel had died there, what are you doing to his death? You're tarnishing it.
And what he'd want.
And so, like,
his promise, his word.
That choice for the culture, I guess, surprised me. For what they've been saying all along. And for this character who is incredibly terrifying. To not... I get wanting to kill the person that killed your captain. Like, I can totally understand that. I think it just surprised me that they actually we're going to try to do that.
Yep, I'm with you.
These specific people, that specific captain, how the duel and the rules were created. I mean, I guess it's one of those things. Well, he's already dead, so it's not like he can see that we're tarnishing his duel. But to think that he was dead, they underestimated him.
This show has some of my favorite characters, like, ever. I was thinking about Thorkel, and I was like, oh, I love Thorkel. I love the depth we've been given for him over the last few episodes, especially this episode, him mourning the death in his own way. He was sitting laying on top of
Thor's roof.
Yeah.
Like, come
and
on.
then I was like, holy shit, but like Askeladd's an amazing character too for ABC all the way to Z, and then oh shit, Canute. What are they even doing with Thor? Like, I'm just like, I love it.
You know what Thorkel is? He is that stray. He's that stray cat that you start feeding, and then you're like, shit, because then he shows up all the time asking for food and lays on your roof.
Thorkel.
Maybe you should bring him inside.
Thorkel is the Nijika from Bocchi the Rock, but in this show, you know,
Okay.
Like that's what like they offer me very similar
cut
feelings.
To an edit of them like morphing into the same into like some type of. I've never seen Dragon Ball, but don't they like do something like this and they like fuse?
I have no idea.
Two different characters. So let's get that with like Thorkel and Nijika from Bocchi the Rock.
How do you know this?
Because I've seen pictures of them going like this. Spoilers.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.